Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Parca Office Hours. Before we start, we have a code of conduct in place. You can find that linked into our Office doc, and which I shared just now. But the gist of it, just be nice to each other. Today, we don't have a lot of agenda items, but we want to talk about the latest releases and what we have fixed, and maybe give just a tour of it. I don't think there is a demo-worthy content, but we can check that in the demo.parca.dev. So yeah, Frederick, do you want to take over for the Parca updates?
Yeah, no problem. Let me actually just share my screen. I believe you can see my screen now. A couple of pretty exciting things have landed. So the first one I'm personally very excited about, even though it's still an experimental feature and it's opt-in and there are definitely still some bugs. But we've made some progress on the experimental arrow ingestion. So what this means is that instead of kind of converting the profiling information into Parquet format and inserting that into FrostDB, it's actually we actually just converted to arrow and then insert that into FrostDB. And the reason why this is pretty nice for us to do is actually the format in which we query data out of FrostDB and always ended up being arrow. And previously, whenever we queried FrostDB, we had to convert Parquet into arrow, and that is fairly complicated to do and has a lot of overhead to do. And so, keeping everything in the same format is actually quite beneficial. And partially, why we didn't do this before is because arrow was lacking a couple of kind of pieces of functionality that we needed in order to make this more efficient, essentially. That's kind of the long story short. There are a couple of encodings that have recently landed in arrow that now kind of make this a possibility for us. Before, the kind of memory explosion was just way too huge. And so that's why we originally didn't do this. And then we have a bunch of really cool improvements, some improvements on the tooltip for the flame graph or for the icicle graph. We now correctly trim icicle graphs. So that means that when we do a request for an icicle graph, and let's say there's a frame that is smaller than a pixel, the backend actually realizes that and doesn't even send the data for this frame. Previously, we still sent it, even though it was impossible to ever view this frame, right? Because if the frame right underneath the root, for example, is less than a pixel, there's no chance that you will ever be able to expand this frame, right? And so it was just totally unnecessary that we sent this information over the wire. And if you want to check out how much savings there were, you can check out the pull requests. We have a couple of performance optimizations, and one more kind of improvement is that we can now ingest also uncompressed pprof profiles. This was primarily kind of an integration thing because we've realized that not all kind of pprof profilers actually compress the pprof profiles as well. And so this is just kind of making sure that our integration into the ecosystem is as strong as we claim it to be. A bunch of bug fixes. One really kind of important one, I think, is that we now follow redirects for debug info D servers. This is actually part of the specification for clients of debug info D servers. And so that means that sometimes we actually didn't correctly implement the debug info D protocol. So more improvements on symbolization. I'm sure there were one or two features or changes that deserve highlighting that I now forgot, but I think these are some of the highlights of the last release. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Seems like we don't have any questions. Feel free to ask your questions on our Discord channel if you're watching the recording. We already have everything in the Office doc, but I will put a link directly to the Discord into the YouTube comments as well. Cool. I think we don't have any community agenda items, so I'm going to talk about Parca Agent and the latest couple of releases. For that, let me just share my screen. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, I actually just saw that a couple of meetings ago, we already went over 0.16.0 and 0.16.1 just.
Okay, we can just then fast forward to the 0.17.
Yeah.
This has got like 2 weeks ago. We have some new features in this release, most notably from Frederick. We added a converter from Java flight recorder to pprof. We are experimenting with Java support. That's why this has landed here. We don't support fully Java, but like we continue with our experiments. And then there was some fixes with our like testing infrastructure, and we fixed a couple of issues that we discovered along the way. We bumped this as a minor version release because we also added some features, but this release was mostly about fixing stuff. We realized that we were handling a couple of flags wrongly. We fixed that, and the most notably, there was a panic that we encountered when we tried to parse some systemd updates from dbus, and it has fixed with this release. And then we had a couple of things that we discovered with this release as well. Frederick also realized that there were some misbehavings with the dwarf debug information extraction logic, and it has fixed. And we added some metrics for caches. We are trying to make sure that like we are utilizing all the caches properly. The last patch release was also about panic. This is actually introduced in a previous patch release. I think I did that in this cache stat metrics. Unknowingly that we have some retries, and when we register a set of metrics with the Prometheus registry, this was causing problems. A small thing, but when you have a memory constraint environment, you can hit this because Parca Agent tries to adjust the shards and reduces the number of shards, and by doing that, it pre-registers maps. But now everything is fixed. And one other thing maybe worth mentioning, Marcel is working on some improvements on our address normalization behavior. For that, he has added some flags so that he can easily experiment with it. We have actually a public design document. I can put the link in the into our office hours document. It's already available in the public RFCs of Parca. The idea is to make sure that we are properly handling address like position independent code for the stack traces that we collect. Yes, this is more or less the fixes and the improvements for the past week for the Parca agent. Do you have any questions? Any comments? Nothing? Okay. Nothing is also good. All right. I think if you don't have any other things to discuss, agenda seems to be empty. This is it for this session of Parca office hours. I think we'll see each other in 2 weeks in this time in another time zone. We started to alternate this. We keep tweeting about it, but in case you missed that, the next one will be more suitable for the European and APAC time zone. Cool.
One thing I just wanted to, since we had a quick, very short conversation on Discord about kind of some further Java experiments. I know because just before we started the recording, we were briefly talking about it, but I just wanted to say, Maxime, if you wanted to chat about that now, we can use this time, of course, but also super happy to just continue the conversation on Discord.
Sure. I'm not sure what we can add. Say what we were saying is the JIT dump. So Perf has its JVMTI agent that generates JIT dump. The JIT dump doesn't have dwarf, and what you were actually seeing is there's that paper that says we can generate dwarf from the object code that is mapped by the JVM process. I don't know much how to have done that. I don't know if you want to dive further, if you've already looked more into that paper.
So, I mean, partially, I just wanted to put it into the recording that we talked about this, but also that some folks at Polar Signals are kind of looking into the synthesis of the dwarf unwind information anyway. Just kind of, it was sort of a hackathon that we started with, and kind of just thinking about this idea, right? Like, if we were to be able to generate this dwarf unwind information, like why kind of the other path that we're going down right now as well and investigating some more is kind of attaching async profiler to a Java process, but that feels much more heavy-handed than having this JIT dump agent that writes out the JIT dump for each process. So yeah, I think the idea is just that we try to generate or try to compile the agent that writes out the JIT dump for hopefully once for all JVMs out there. I don't know if that's realistic or even possible, but that would be the idea, to kind of statically compile it and try that out. Because if that works, it feels like it's a really interesting avenue to try out.
Definitely.
Cool. I think that's all I kind of wanted to talk about. And of course, you know, if you want to take a stab at it, please feel free. Otherwise, I'm probably going to take some. I might take some time next week, but I can't promise that it will happen. So, you know, if you find some time and feel like trying it out, please help yourself.
Okay. I'm not sure I have time, but yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to mention it to you since you were so passionate about so much of the JIT dump stuff. So I just wanted to mention it.
Thanks.
Very cool.
All right. That's it. See you everyone in 2 weeks. But also, by the way, like Frederick and I will be in KubeCon this week, KubeCon EU, Amsterdam. If you're around, we will be wearing our Polar Signals t-shirts. We are easy to spot. Exactly. So find us if you have any questions or if you just want to say hi, find us and say hi. With that, see you everyone.
Bye-bye.